Well, good evening. I'm meteorologist Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. Hurricane Ian just will not give up. Yes, I said Hurricane Ian. It is a hurricane once again in the Atlantic Ocean. Shortly after it exited the coast of Florida, it had intensified to 70-mile-per-hour winds, making it a strong tropical storm. And now we have 75-mile-per-hour winds. As a matter of fact, it's so impressive. I'm going to show you a little updated close-in sector, that mesoscale sector, as far as the GOES satellite is concerned. This is really something spectacular. There are multiple vortexes rotating around the center of this storm. You can see there's some strong rotation. As a matter of fact, Kennedy Space Center recorded a wind gust of 86 miles per hour in the last hour, and this system is intensifying. The thing about it is it has such a broad wind field. It is really expanded out almost like it's a non-tropical low, but it does have warm core to it. That's what signifies a tropical system. The air is warmer in the eye. And I'm going to zoom in here on this so you can just see some of these multiple spins in the atmosphere going around the eye. Can you see that? It's pretty impressive, but it's not going to be impressive for the southeast coast of the United States. We're already seeing tidal increases of several feet, or at least a couple of feet, through Georgia, South Carolina, and even North Carolina, where there are now hurricane warnings in effect around the Cape Fear River. I'm going to show you that in just a second as far as GeoCollaborate is concerned. And I do want to show you as well that GeoCollaborate is monitoring all of this. And so let me show that to you right now. Here is the wind field of Hurricane Ian. 75-mile-per-hour winds. It is a hurricane, and it's expected to intensify to 80 miles per hour before it makes landfall. Here's the big deal about this. While we saw a Category 4 storm making landfall in southwestern Florida, it brought a significant storm surge to it. It did not have as broad a wind field as this Category 1 storm has with it. So already, while the hurricane is located down here, the winds, tropical storm force winds coming onshore, are already impacting the Outer Banks of North Carolina and also the coast of South Carolina and Georgia, and of course, Florida. We're seeing water rises as well along the St. Johns River coming through Jacksonville. And I'll show you some of those indications as well. But this is how broad this circulation is. It's very, very large, pushing a lot of water. So we could actually get Category 2 type of storm surges with this Category 1 storm. So what we have here is this broad wind field. You see in the inner core now, there is this darker color showing up. That is where the hurricane force winds are located. This area here are storm force winds, anything 50 knots to 70 to 65 knots. So this is very strong winds, and out here are the tropical storm force winds. Now I'm going to have to zoom out just a little bit because this is already going to impact almost to Norfolk, Virginia. We have storm gale warnings in effect and storm warnings in effect for the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. But here's what I'm going to do, is zoom into the Florida and Georgia coastline here. This is from Flagler, Volusia County line to Edisto Beach, South Carolina. A 4 to 6 foot storm surge is predicted. Now, that is going to be in effect until the next 48 hours because this storm has such a broad circulation to it. So those along Georgia should prepare for a 4 to 6 foot storm surge. It is underway already in Georgia. And also up towards central South Carolina, we're talking about an even larger storm surge. Let me zoom into coastal South Carolina here in GeoCollaborate and show you what that looks like. From Edisto Beach to Murrells Inlet in South Carolina, that's north of Charleston, just south of Myrtle Beach, a 4 to 7 foot storm surge. This is a life-threatening storm surge 4 to 7 feet that is commencing now. It will get increasingly large during the night tonight and into tomorrow morning. But this storm surge is going to be constantly pushed on shore by these winds around Hurricane Ian. So that's a 4 to 7 foot storm surge from Edisto Beach, right here, up to Merrill's Inlet, which is 4 to 7 feet. I'm going to go northward here to Merrill's Inlet to Cape Fear, North Carolina. Cape Fear, North Carolina. That's right near Wilmington. A 3 to 5 foot storm surge is forecast from this broad wind field from Hurricane Ian that's making its way towards the northeast. It's turning to the northeast, and the Hurricane Center believes that when enough thunderstorm activity forms around the center, that it will start to make that turn towards the north and then the northwest to make landfall in central North Carolina. Now, I do want to stress that Ian has been consistently moving to the right of where the National Hurricane Center's forecast has been. That is a consensus forecast using a whole bunch of different models, but Ian has a mind of its own. I would not be surprised to see some of these storm surges increased and shifted to the north as the storm gets closer to the Carolina coastline. But this is the official forecast here, 3 to 5 foot storm surge from Merrill's Inlet, just south of Myrtle Beach. So that includes the Myrtle Beach area, 3 to 5 feet over to Cape Fear, North Carolina. This is Cape Fear, this point right here. And also above that, we have a storm surge of 2 to 4 feet across a large area of North Carolina. 2 to 4 feet from Cape Fear, which is this point right here, all the way to Duck, North Carolina, which is up at this point here. So that includes Pamlico Sound, a 2 to 4 foot storm surge. That could cause damage to docks and properties that are right on the inlet there and in Pamlico Sound. Now you see this blue area up here. This blue area is Croatan and Roanoke Sounds, 1 to 3 feet of storm surge, and also in Albemarle Sound, 1 to 2 foot expected storm surge in Albemarle Sound. Now, the storm surge predictions stop at that point. However, the winds will be strong enough going into Virginia Beach that there is likely to be a rise of waters, particularly during high tide, with some rough surf. So I suspect that in Virginia Beach and Norfolk, we'll see a tidal rise of a foot at least. That could be extended. These storm surges could be extended to the north based on the latest track as the forecast gets updated again at 8 p.m. tonight. Now, this is where Ian is located here, and it's expected to make, I'll turn the forecast track on once again and turn that back on. I have the initial radii on. I'm going to turn on the active storms. There we go. So this is where the path of the storm is expected to go. Now, since Ian has been consistently moving to the right, I would anticipate that that track could also move to the right, and we're looking perhaps at a landfall further northward in South Carolina. That's just a possibility. But really, this big wind field is going to push a lot of water. That is the big story. Now, let me just focus on rainfall as well. So I'm going to turn off the initial radii, and I'm going to turn off the active storms data set here from the National Hurricane Center. So once I have that turned off, I do want to turn on the rainfall forecast from the Weather Prediction Center. The Weather Prediction Center is in College Park, Maryland, and they are forecasting copious amounts of rain based on this forecast here. So let me just change the opacity here for this rainfall forecast. There we go. And I want to focus in on this area here. So remember, we were talking about eastern Georgia. and southeastern Georgia being impacted by heavy rains. That is shifting. It is consistently shifting to the east. This is great news. Even though you will get rain from this storm, it looks like eastern Georgia is now confined to about an inch of rain. But storm surge is a factor. So coastal Georgia will get a storm surge. In central South Carolina, the rainfall totals go up from 4 inches to 8 inches of rain, potentially to the right of where this storm goes inland. So 4 to 8 inches of rain, and then it tapers off very quickly in western South Carolina to just about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch of rain that's expected. So that line is going to be fine where the heavy rain starts. We'll use Columbia, South Carolina as a dividing line. Anything east and northeast and north of Columbia could see flooding rains because of the path of Hurricane Ian. And also North Carolina now finds itself in the bullseye for a lot of rainfall. This is the 4-inch area of rainfall, with some areas receiving 5 inches or more in North Carolina. This is the latest Weather Prediction Center forecast. This large area here is a 3-inch storm total of rainfall. 3 inches. That could come in a very short period of time, but it could also be exceeded by strong storms that develop within Hurricane Ian. Now, when Ian makes landfall, it's expected to diminish in intensity rather quickly to a tropical storm. But when we're talking about rainfall, it really doesn't matter if it's a hurricane or not. It's going to dump a lot of rain. I wouldn't be surprised to see rainfall totals in this area from South Carolina to North Carolina to Virginia and even parts of Maryland exceeding 3 to 5 inches of rain. We'll be monitoring that for you, and we'll be showing you how much rain has been falling. As a matter of fact, we can show you how much has fallen over the last 3 days. So over the last 3 days, I'm going to turn the rainfall forecast off here. We have had copious amounts of rain, as you can tell. This is all from the track of Ian. Now look at this path right through central Florida here. I'll raise this up just a little bit more. And the path of the hurricane. Just to the northwest of the hurricane center across Florida, we've had 15 to 20, in some cases more than 20 inches of rain. That's all falling now over the Atlantic Ocean, not doing any trouble there at all, unless you have marine activity going on out there. But as this starts to move up and head into North Carolina, you can expect this kind of rainfall totals to follow the storm. So to the north and west of the storm, we could see 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches of rain in South Carolina. And then to the right of the storm, 3 to 5 inches of rain, generally speaking. So we're going to be monitoring this. Tropical Storm Ian has become Hurricane Ian. This is the update now. This is at 6 o'clock based on the Hurricane Center's 5 p.m. update. And GeoCollaborate is tracking it. Those of you in the Fleet Response Working Group can connect to the Fleet Response Working Group GeoCollaborate dashboard to get this video and to also see the latest updates from the National Hurricane Center. So we'll keep you updated. Next update I'll have is either going to be later tonight or tomorrow morning based on what Hurricane Ian is doing. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll keep you posted.